Hey class, I wanted to go over how to write a discussion board now that you have seen how to create a discussion board thread. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Bear with me. If you go under course resources, you will find our typical layout, the chapter study guides, the how-to videos, and then our netiquette rules and discussion board writing tips. I'm hoping to connect this or link this with our discussion boards in order to help you kind of develop your discussion boards. But with each discussion board, it's going to be important that you follow the rubric. There is a rubric that kind of outlines the key areas of where you're going to earn points for that discussion. And so the first thing you're going to want to do is read the chapter or watch the video. Make sure you have a good understanding of the concepts and terms involved in that chapter. And some of these discussion boards will actually kind of build on previous information learned from other chapters. So keep that in mind as well, especially when we get into some of the later discussion boards. But in order to fully utilize the discussion board format and really develop a good, solid, well thought out discussion, you need to understand what the prompt is asking, understand what the information is in that chapter, and then base it on your own experiences. But I want you to back up your opinions and your experiences with information you learn from the text. And it's fine if your experience is a little bit different than what the text says, but be sure to point that out. You know, the text says X, Y, Z, but in my experience, this is what I experienced, right? And so it's fine to have an opinion, but sometimes we need to understand how to back up our opinion with something factual. And so if we don't have facts to support our opinion, that's a good time to kind of look and see why we think the way we do. And so I want this to be a safe place. And so we're going to add our netiquette rules in this area. But some tips for kind of following up on the discussion board responses. So you'll have to answer your initial prompt by Thursday of the week that it's due, and then you'll respond to one classmate by that following Sunday. And so the discussion boards will run about a week. So I've included the 4 C's to help ensure that you have a really well-developed response to your classmate. You can also use this, some of this in your initial response, but this is really going to apply to your response to your classmate. So the first thing you want to do is compliment them. Start off positive. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. I really liked your point about, and then provide whatever specific information you can. Comment on something relevant and meaningful about what they wrote. Be specific. I agree with you about XYZ, and then provide specifics. Why do you agree with them about that? You can use statements like, for example, you may not agree, but you can politely disagree, and that's fine. This is a discussion, and it's okay to do that. I respect your opinion, but I think XYZ. Or maybe, you know, my experience was different. For example, this is what I experienced, and it was very different from you. So it's okay to have that discussion. Make sure that you are connecting your points with your classmates' points to something from the course, whether it's from something from the textbook, the video, the lecture, the PowerPoint, even your own experience. Again, it's fine to have an opinion, but back it up with something factual, right? This is what happened to me. This is why I think this way. This is why I agree with you or I disagree with you, right? This is what the book says, and I'm not sure I agree with that, but here's why I disagree with that, or here's why I agree with that, for example, right? And then you always want to kind of end with some sort of concluding statement. whether it's kind of what your point is or your stance or what the impact of this might be, or even if it's just to summarize kind of the main point of your reply. Like, I completely agree with XYZ, and as I stated, it's based off of my experience, which is also backed up by the book. I mean, something very simple, right? And so this is just going to really enhance the discussion. Again, utilize the rubrics that are included in each of the discussion boards and make sure you're hitting on every point that needs to be made in the discussion board. Some of them have, 3 or 4 steps that you need to follow or questions that you need to answer. So make sure you're answering each of those. I will be providing feedback following the discussion boards, so that should help you. Again, it replaces the class discussion, but I do want it to be well thought out and really pulling from your experiences and your thoughts about what you're learning in the book. If you have questions about it, please let me know.